Hi everyone. So this week I've been working on the dining room ceiling. A while ago I got the electrical done and installed the junction box for the light fixture. I had to get a special one. This is like a heavy duty ceiling fan junction box because of the lath and plaster and the distances. I needed something that would go between the joists without any support, and there's plaster that's missing in that area as well. There are these battens that were installed behind the previous ceiling's supports. You can see here I had a little bit more of the previous ceiling to pull down, and these are like tiny little particle board 1x1 tiles. So the battens that were installed were about a foot apart, which made installing the new ceiling tiles pretty easy because I got to reuse the battens, but it just meant a little more work with the electrical. So I wanted to reuse the trim, and so I tried to be real careful pulling down the old trim, and that hole that's in the ceiling has been there since I moved in. That has been there since before I did the bathroom renovation. The upstairs bathroom is just above there, and where that toilet had leaked, the plaster had given way, and so that's where that hole came from. Doing this all by myself was a bit of a challenge, as most things are. The backer board that I got for the ceiling tiles, I got some really pretty, they're kind of like pressed tin. It's just a plastic, but they're the same design that you would find for pressed tin, but they're a little plastic that you glue up. And so I had to put a completely smooth backer board up on the ceiling first. And so this material is a particle board that has a smooth side and a little bit rougher pressed side, and it's super thin. I think it's only like 1/4 of an inch thick, and even so it's still a 4 foot by 8 foot panel that there was just no way I was going to get up over my head. So I've had to start by pulling all of the staples that the previous ceiling tiles had been installed with. I needed to pull all of those staples out of the battens that were there so that I could have hopefully a completely flush surface to install the backer boards on. Once I pulled out the staples, then I needed to measure and make sure that I was going to land where I needed to in each one of the backer boards on the battens. So each board is roughly 48 inches, but I needed to cut it to be specific because the ceiling tiles need to be installed on a completely flush, smooth surface. And so I was trying to make this surface completely flush and smooth. The laser level was very helpful in being able to measure and see things all by myself, and to keep track of where some of the battens were behind the panels once I installed them. So it's just a process of, after I had the backer board cut down to 4x4 foot sections, I just cut them the width that they needed to be to fit on the panels. I have these little tension rods that I got they're to hold in place plastic sheeting whenever you're doing a dusty job, so you can like seal off one of the rooms. and these would give you a doorway in the plastic sheeting. But since I'm doing this job all by myself, these became extra set of hands to hold the backer board to the ceiling while I held it in another spot and used the nail gun to get it up into place. So it was quite finicky, to say the least. I had to get a ratchet strap and make a sort of sling so that I wouldn't drop the nail gun because I couldn't hold the nail gun and go up the stairs or go up the ladder and hold the nail gun and hold the backer board, and it was just too many things, too many hands are required to do it. So I had to get creative. Extra set of hands and a sling for the nail gun. One of the panels, I did forget to pull the staples before I put it up, but I think it turned out fine. And there were two boards that were slightly not even, but I was able to put a little metal thing behind them and even them out before I put the actual ceiling panels on there. So I think it worked pretty well. It's just sort of a rinse and repeat process. Pull the staples, measure, cut the boards, try not to drop the board on my head, and nail it into place, and then move on to the next one. I did that until I got to the corner, and there were two pieces that had to be cut to fit the bay window in the dining room, and one piece in the corner that needed to be cut for a little jog out in the wall where the plumbing is for the upstairs bathroom, and one piece that had to be cut around the light fixture. And so generally it was just a bunch of straight cuts and pretty straightforward. My laser level was super helpful. I don't think though that I use it very well, because getting it to be exactly where I wanted in position would take a lot of finicky adjustments, and I just, after the first day or two, I didn't use it as much. And of course, I still have stuff in the house, so I needed to move the dining room table and this side credenza out of the way in order to get the ladder where it needed to be to put the panels up on the other side of the dining room. I need to get it cleaned up and sold, but that's another project. Here I got the panel up into place and then realized that I needed to cut a hole for the light fixture, and so I had to bring it back down, and I dropped it and scared the mess out of Vela. I was so proud of myself. I took a couple tries to narrow into exactly where it needed to be for that light fixture cutout, but I got really close to an exact cut, which just meant that when I went to put the ceiling panel up, it would be all the more secure. So I was really proud of myself that day. I went through and just decided to pull all the rest of the staples so that I wouldn't have to remember and risk forgetting again. It was starting to get real cold as I was working on this project. When I got to the ceiling panel, or the ceiling tiles, is when it actually started to snow here, but even before, it's just been real cold. Just having a solid surface for the ceiling was already a massive improvement. When I was in the middle of the room like this, it was a little bit of a balancing act. I had the board on my head and the two support tension rods, and like once they started to push up, it was real hard to adjust the board, and so it was just very tricky, finicky, like you're trying to get it exactly right kind of work. In this ceiling panel on the side, it made me so frustrated. I cut it and the wall isn't square, so I had to cut at an angle, not straight, and I had to bring it down like twice in order to get it back up and put it exactly where it needed to be. But I had already started to nail it in place, and so I had to like pull it out, but I wasn't trying to mess up the plaster or pull down the wood paneling, so it's just a little frustrating. But once that last panel was up, I was really excited. Like, there was a solid ceiling. That was really cool. So next week I will be putting up the actual ceiling tiles, which is super exciting. See you next week.